Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. What's in the case? Well, this is one of my dream bass guitars that I am finally now a proud owner of. You could probably see it in the corner. This is a Rickenbacker 4003 bass guitar in a jet glow finish, a nice, beautiful gloss black. And I just got it off the FedEx truck yesterday. I only took it out of the box recently just to inspect to make sure it made shipping okay. Today I'm actually going through it and not just admiring it, but going through it. And as you might imagine, if you're familiar with Rickenbackers, these things don't really come that cheap these days, but it is a kind of an American icon, really. And I'm just very grateful and happy and proud to own one. And there is a few things I wanted to go through, and actually a couple modifications I'm going to wind up doing just because it's personal preference. And other than that, this is just one beautiful looking instrument. It's got its quirks, it's got its advantages. I hear people giving positive and negatives about this bass all the time, but I've never owned a Rickenbacker. I've never picked up a Rickenbacker before. I've just only read what I've read on forums and posts and things like that. And I'm going to hopefully be able to communicate my opinions on that, the good and the bad. And you guys tell me what you think. So a couple quick facts about this bass, and I'm sure people are going to ask. This is a 2023 model made in week 10, so somewhere around March, I want to say. And most recent build, from what I can tell. I'm recording this video right now, the first few segments in middle of May when I just got it from Sweetwater. And shout out to Brandon. Thank you so much for helping me out with this. Really appreciate it. You've been an excellent help. And what we have of, as far as other details, this is the more modern, what it has the version 2 high mass bridge with the individual saddle for each string there. And really cool that you can see the rollers here. They really did a good job in upgrading it, because from what I've been told, and I can only really say what I've been told and what I've read because I've never owned a Rickenbacker before. The old version had the 2 pins like this, like for the string mute, which is right here. They had 2 pins here that would adjust the strings back and forth like that, and you kind of had to, take a kind of like find that happy medium somewhere in the middle to get the action height just right. So definitely an improvement there. We have this bridge pickup cover, which it's actually plastic, but it's like plasticized chrome. It's there for aesthetics. The old ones, I believe, used to be there more for a shielding, and I know a lot of people remove them. To be honest, I'm actually on the fence if I even want to remove it at all, because I do love the aesthetics. I have no problem playing this way. I usually play like this anyway, and I can definitely use a pick. This also has the modern and vintage tone control here, which I really am a big fan of the vintage tone control there. So I think I usually just set it to the, I think it's, you've pulled this particular potentiometer out in order to get to the vintage tone. We have the neck pickup here for all that deep bass. The first 2 questions that I asked that probably you guys are interested in as well. This is a lacquered fingerboard. You can see a little bit from the camera here of the gloss, and that's absolutely beautiful. Now there's going to be a bit of a split on people that like the lacquered fingerboard, and there's others that don't. And I really shouldn't say lacquered, because it's they use, I believe, some sort of UV curing polyurethane or polyethylene. I'm not sure what they use, but it's a UV curing poly, let's just say. And also for the 2023 model, this is a single truss rod. Now, it's interesting that it is a single truss rod. I'm actually grateful that it's a single truss rod. Some of the older ones had a dual truss rod, which I am very familiar with playing around with, because my 6-string bass has a dual truss rod, and it's kind of half art and half science from what I've been told on how to adjust them properly. If you don't adjust them properly, the neck has a bad tendency to twist from what I've been told, and I have a friend out in Utah that got this exact model bass, and that's exactly what he ran into, wound up having to return it. But so far, I've checked the neck, and it is perfectly straight. They did a really good job with setup. The base comes in this really nice hard shell road case, and it really is necessary for an instrument of this caliber, really. As far as the case candy, as they call it, we get the key to the case, you get a nice lint-free cloth, the instruction manual, the warranty card, all the Allen keys to make all the various adjustments, things like that. They even give you a Rickenbacker sticker in there, good stuff. This is pretty much what you get. And this was heavily overboxed. You can see in a picture here how much bigger the oversized clamshell box was for the actual box that this hardshell case was in. So it was definitely properly packaged, and kudos to Sweetwater for doing that. I'm going to get right into what I don't like about this bass guitar, and the fact that we have a very high cost bass guitar here. And when it comes to the electronics, now electronics in a bass guitar or any guitar really, it needs to be set up properly. We have single coil pickups here. Single coils are always going to pick up stray noise from the environment. They're always going to have that single coil tone. It's kind of the allurement of having a single coil to begin with. But you want to do what's called Faraday cage shielding, meaning that the cavity where all the electronics sit needs to be shielded so that you can reduce that noise as much as possible. Obviously, if you're in a noisy environment, single coils are going to pick up that stray noise no matter what, but you want to try to minimize it. This bass, for the price that it's sold at, has no cavity shielding, no copper paint, no copper tape to encapsulate the electronics in order to reduce that single coil buzzing noise. And that to me is very annoying, but it's not just exclusive to Rickenbacker. I have played Fender Ultra basses, they're precision, they're jazz basses, and I've realized that none of those high caliber, that's their top of the line models, they do not have any shielding either. So it's not just Rickenbacker, but I just don't understand the logic behind it. If you're going to buy an instrument like this at this price point, it should be turnkey and nothing should have to be done to it. The fact that I have to go and take this completely apart before I even really start playing it is a lose for me. But I'm capable of doing that kind of work. And I'm going to show a little bit of that work on how I'm going to go and execute that. But it is a bit of an annoyance for the people that don't know how to do that or that are not comfortable doing that they would actually have to go and have this shielded professionally to reduce that single coil buzzing as much as possible. You'll never get rid of it completely, but it's better to have it than not have it at all. This never comes with it from the factory. Either it's cutting corners, or maybe they felt that there was no need to put it in to begin with, which I kind of have a hard time believing that. But it's one of the first things that I really don't like about this bass. So here I've gone ahead, I've removed the strings, being careful to protect the finish here with a cloth. I've removed the pick guard, and as you can see here, the electronics are not shielded at all. We have just bare wood here with a little bit of the overspray from the gloss finish here. I'm putting my finger over the serial is actually inside here, which is cool, but you can see that 2310, 23 means that it's 2023, and 10 is the 10th week of the year. I don't want to I'm holding my finger here only because it's still under warranty, and I don't want that blasted over the internet. But you can tell there's no copper tape, there's no copper paint or anything like that. These electronics are basically open to the environment. They will catch any stray noise, and we're going to fix that. I completed the shield job, and took me a little while to do it because I had to be very careful with the finish and everything. I put a layer of copper foil, or copper tape they call it, underneath the pick guard, and the pick guard is going to get changed out. I actually have some samples coming in from WD Music. I have a couple different color ideas in mind to replace the stock white one here, just my personal preference, but whatever pick guard is going to be on here is going to have this copper foil underneath it so that it can complete the Faraday cage for the electronics. It took me a little while to get the little pieces cut to the right sizes, especially for the channel. And you can see in this one other picture here that I did put the copper tape where the bridge pickup is, but I didn't show a picture of it completed with the bottom fully shielded. But suffice to say that both the neck and bridge pickups are fully encapsulated with that copper tape. Another note here on the bridge pickup cavity, I did run a single ground wire from that cavity. I soldered it to the copper foil in that cavity and then ran the wire over to the main location of where all the knobs are for the main cavity. That way all the cavities are connected together at 0 ohm potential, and that way everything is good there. Then I then took another single ground wire and then connected it up from that same point up to the tone knob where the bridge ground wire is located, so all are connected to the same point. The method is called star grounding, so that there's always one point of grounding reference there to minimize on that noise. And that's just how I was taught on how to shield, and some people might have suggestions on how to do it better, but that's the way I did it. And I'm happy to report, and I will do some sound samples after these next couple segments. You can hear the single coil buzz is there, but the noise floor is greatly reduced, and it won't be a problem when you're playing live or recording. The last modification that I wanted to do was fix the string mute, and the string mute is a very interesting feature that this bass has. You have these 2 thumb screws, and it's got this foam piece inside. It is curved, trying to match the bevel or the radius of the fingerboard. The way that this is set up, though, I had the problem where the foam was thicker in the middle for the A and the D strings, and it was thinner at the end here for the E and the G strings. What was happening is, as I would increase, you turn these clockwise to raise up this piece of foam, and it would actually contact the A and the D strings first, and these would still ring out. And maybe that was how it was designed, but what I wanted to have it do was I wanted to have all these strings equally muted when I raised these 2 thumb screws. So what I had to do was I took some of this high density air conditioner window seal that you can get at Home Depot. I had some left over from my room air conditioner project I did a while back, and I just cut it to length, and then what I did was I cut it as thin as I needed to where this is slightly thicker here. You can actually see the pieces, and it has a little adhesive backing, and it matches. You're not going to really notice that, but now the G and the E strings will now contact exactly at the same time as the A and the D strings are. Actually put 2 pieces here as well, but thinner than the ones on the outside here. That way now all 4 strings now are muted equally, and that I'm happy with that functionality. And plus now I can loosen them back up to where I can lower this mute. This one was also stuck, by the way, with some lacquer. Now it works exactly the way I want it to. I'm happy I was able to fix it in this manner because from what I discovered, in order to remove this foam piece, to trim it, to cut it to whatever size, because the thought would be you would actually, if these 2 strings are contacting first, then the outer strings, you would take this foam piece out and just cut a little bit, trim a little bit off, and you get the same desired result. But the amount of work to have to do that, the entire tailpiece and bridge needs to be removed, flipped upside down, and there's always that chance of getting that tail lift, they call it, where this bridge piece, tailpiece, will distort from removing and reinstalling it, and then you start getting it to lift on the edge here. And I know it's hard to tell because it's brand new, the reflection is coming right in, but you can see that I don't have that tail lift here. I really can't focus on it too well, but yeah, there's even a little bit of a flaw here in the chrome, but I'm not going to worry about that. And I'm sorry, the fan is also obscuring it a little bit, but I'm not going to mess with that. I got the functionality to what I want, and I did not have to remove the entire tailpiece to do it. Just another minor detail that I wanted to make sure that that was taken care of. And I'd say now this bass is ready for some sound tests. Let's try it out. I just have a little room microphone here. I'm going to turn that off, and then I'm going to turn on the bass. The bass is running through my Art Tube MP Studio V3 preamp, and that is set to the bass voicing here. And I just got to move away because my security system and apparently this humidifier puts out some noise. but when I move away from it, it's not bad at all. Again, it's single coiled. Weird. But just the nature of single coils. But the noise floor is definitely better than before it was shielded. Well, guys, this is actually, I'm going to end the video here. A lot of fun playing with the bass. There is another thing that you can do with this bass that I'll cover in another video that I'm sure you've seen in a lot of other videos, but it is called the Rico sound. You can actually take each of these pickups, the bridge pickup and the neck pickup, and split them to their own separate signals, and then you can run them through either two separate amplifiers, or you can run them to different signal chains. A lot of guys, what they'll do is they'll run the bridge pickup through their guitar amp, and then they will run the neck pickup through their standard bass amp and blend them together. That's the Rico sound. So it's kind of like it's not stereo, but it's a two-channel independent. And I don't have the equipment for that at the moment, but I did order it. We'll cover that in another video. Guys, thank you so much for watching and for supporting the channel. Hopefully you guys learned a little something, and hopefully the tips and tricks that I was able to glean from reading all the different forum members and posts about these Rickenbackers was helpful to you. Till the next time, and thanks again for watching.